Yo, what's up guys, it's Yeti here, welcome back. So in today's video, I want to talk about what things in Season 1 of The War Within did not work, and which of those Blizzard should try to either improve on or change for Season 2 of The War Within. Because you have to keep in mind, Season 1 is always the biggest season in a World of Warcraft expansion. It's when the release of the expansion generates the most hype, and generally speaking, the number will slowly or very fast go down after Season 1, or maybe even a few months after the expansion released. In The War Within, we have already seen this because the numbers did go down, but I think the way that those numbers went down is nothing unusual. So today I want to section this video in 3 topics. I want to talk about Mythic rating first, then I want to talk about Mythic Plus, and I want to conclude the video talking a little bit about the state of PvP in World of Warcraft. So Mythic rating. Mythic rating recently had a very well-written, nice Reddit thread about it, and I want to take some of the conclusions from there that probably most of the community agrees. So one of the biggest problems is that the lockout system in World of Warcraft is still insanely outdated. The fact that you can only clear specific bosses with your guild, that is mostly tied to the ID. So for example, if you're being brought in for the boss number 3 and 5, you cannot clear bosses 1, 2, and 4, even though you will not see them that week with your guild whatsoever. This is probably made to prevent some complete degenerate farming of gear for the world first raids or for one of the guilds on the top end of the guild ladder. But I think for a casual player and for most players, this just makes them not be able to play a lot of these bosses, because almost every single guild outside of the Hall of Fame guilds is going to lock their lockouts at some point, and that means they will only be seeing one boss a week. Now, currently in the Rubar Palace, we have a massive difficulty spike between boss number 4 and 5. Anyone who is starting off with Ovinax knows exactly what I'm talking about. That boss requires so much more skill, knowledge, and DPS than boss, 1 to 4. I think it's not even comparable. And having such a massive wall is really annoying for a lot of players, especially those who are pugging. Another problem is that these sort of walls are not walls in terms of DPS or HPS requirements. Of course, you need more damage and healing for these bosses 5, 6, 7, and 8, but you also have a lot harder mechanics, which are going to require a lot higher pull counts all around the board. Another problem that we have in the current season is, in my opinion, add-on setup requirements. I've made multiple videos talking about this already, and I just want to say it again, that in my opinion, bosses such as Ovinax, where you need every single player to have perfectly set up add-ons, sometimes to even configure things in their add-ons to not interfere with other assignment weak auras, etc. And if one player messed it up, it's going to actually cost you a pull every single time a player comes into the raid with an outdated add-on, outdated weak aura, wrong option or something like that inside the add-on, and it's going to cost you like 15 minutes to troubleshoot. And if you are a guild who is swapping players often, this is going to cut off probably 15 to 30 minutes every single raid that you are bringing in a new player. Another massive problem is basically being a guild master is impossible in 2025. I think that the recruitment process is already insanely hard by itself. You need to look for players either on WoW Progress or Warcraft Logs or Raider.io. Then you have to interview that player. You have to make sure they are not locked, and then you can try them out. Of course, when you're trying a player out, you need to get them used to all the new mechanics you have. You have to rewrite all the sheets, all the cooldown timers, all of that stuff. And generally speaking, a lot of players will not even be joining your guild if they get a better offer, which is very often going to happen because players in the high end are getting burnt out insanely fast because of the amount of hours you need to raid to perform in these high-end guilds. And that means that, if you're a guild from like the range of like top 500 to top 1,000, good luck finding players, because nobody is going to see your guild as something attractive they can join. And that means you will have to, find players who are probably worse than the average skill level of your guild, and they're going to actually be costing you more pulls to kill a specific boss in the game. And of course, all of that combined is going to make your guild and your ranking look worse than it actually is. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is Mythic Plus. There are so many things we can talk about, but of course, I want to give some positive feedback first. New affixes were generally speaking very attractive. I think the start of season 1 of The War Within was the most fun I ever had in Mythic Plus. I was just ready to play every single day. I would log on and I was ready to pump keys. Keys felt consistent, they felt nice, the difficulty felt genuinely pretty nice in terms of, going from, let's say, key level 2 to key level 11. Sure, the key level 12 was really hard at start, but I think they actually narrowed down the difficulty very, very well. A problem I had with Mythic Plus, and this comes down to those people who are only doing Mythic Plus, is that the only way you would get Mythic track gear is through the vault. And not just the fact that you were only able to get it through the vault, you were only getting Mythic gear for doing plus 10s, and plus 10s were very, very hard at start. So a lot of people had trouble filling their vaults with Mythic slots in the first couple of weeks, combined with the fact that, these were new dungeons, these were not bug-tested dungeons, they were not nerfed. A lot of the tank busters were, killing tanks in one hit. They still are sometimes. And all of this combined made the first couple of weeks insanely frustrating. If you are not doing Mythic Plus with pre-mates, it's going to be very, very hard, especially early on in the season where the gear and the average item level are that much lower. I think that Mythic Plus is also, generally speaking, completely different when you're playing solo queue or with a team. And I think that some of the systems they implemented are making this a lot harder. Like, for example, making the affixes be completely stat check made the dungeons harder. And I also think that the new CC changes made pugs have a much harder time dealing with interrupts, because what happens, a lot of people either stack interrupts or stack stuns, which are nowadays going to, hurt the group even more, because if you popped a stun first and then let's say one or even multiple players press their interrupt afterwards because they have, let's say below average reaction time or just average reaction time, that is going to waste both of those interrupts, and then the mob is going to go back to casting the spell they were previously casting. And in a big pack of mobs, this is going to hurt the players in the dungeon a lot, potentially causing a wipe just because of that one mistake. Now, some negative feedback. I think that depleting the dungeons still feels horrible. I think going down a key level is horrible. They are introducing a change where above, I believe, 2850, your keystones will no longer drop below a 12 or something like that. But I don't think that matters, because sadly, that score that they are requiring you to get is way too high. And also at the score they want you to have, 12s no longer give you score. So this is just a quality of life improvement. It's not an actual systematic improvement to the keystone system in World of Warcraft Mythic Plus. Another massive problem that Season 2 is going to face is that we are going back to untested dungeons once again. A lot of these dungeons are only going to be played a little bit on the public beta. We will not have a huge pool of players going in there, trying these dungeons, seeing how much DPS, HPS you need, etc. And it's going to take, again, weeks for some of these dungeons to become fun. And maybe, I'm afraid that they will not nerf tank busters or certain HPS checks enough, and it's going to make the players not want to tank and heal once again. I have, for example, decided I'm going to be going back to healing in Season 2 of The War Within, because I think as a healer, it's actually possible to play the game. If you're a DPS hosting your own keys or trying to pug, good luck, because it's going to take so long for you to even get a healer and a tank to sign up. Often, those will have much lower score than you, and you're going to be just forced to accept them, or otherwise you have to wait, sometimes 30, 40 minutes for a single attempt in a dungeon. And then what's going to happen? You're going to go into a dungeon, you're going to walk up to the first pack, and your tank is going to die to a tank buster right there. He's going to Hearthstone out because he can find a group in 20 seconds, and so can the healer. But you're a hunter. It takes an hour and a half for you to find, a CR and potentially a Bloodlust if you don't want to have a Ferocity pet out there. And now the final topic is going to be PvP. I'm not a massive PvP person. I did PvP in the past, but I think that PvP right now is also systematically suffering a lot. All of these different queue systems they have, all of these different ladders they have split up the player base too much. And you have to also consider the fact that there is no reason for a PvEer like myself to do PvP. I think that PvP is going to continue seeing a massive downtrend. I think that PvP is in general too hard for a new player to get into, and it needs a lot of changes. I mean, just look at right now what people on Twitch TV and YouTube are looking at. It's mostly World of Warcraft Classic because it's so much easier to get into. I mean, somebody like Peekaboo or Zaryu, these massive PvP streamers in World of Warcraft, are reaching their all-time highest view count on both YouTube and Twitch because they're playing a game that is so much easier to understand and they can approach a much wider audience. While if they're doing WoW PvP, the people that can watch their stream are a very, very small section of YouTube/Twitch that actually understands this and understands what they're doing. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know what you think about my improvements. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Next video will be uploaded soon. Peace out.